Please feel free to use the chat feature today. We'd love you to use the chat feature for questions so we can make sure that we get them all or respond to them. And as soon as this recording is over, we're recording today, we'll go ahead and post that on the website and send you an email where you can get to it. And we'll also post the PowerPoint so that you have that access as well. So welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining us. This is the 2026 for Tier 2 and 2027 for Tier 1 and Zoological Grant Cycle Application Information Webinar. I could put a couple more words in that, but I'm going to hold back. I'm going to hold back. Okay. All right. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and then we'll go from there to get started. So welcome, everyone. Hopefully that's sharing correctly. Does that look okay to everyone? Okay, great. Let's see. My name is Samantha Thermos, and I'm the ZAP director. And we're here to talk to you about some of the old information and some new information about the grant. We want everyone to do the best job possible for our advisory board members and for themselves as an organization. I'm the director. I mostly work on Tier 1 and zoological as well as administration items. Cody, do you want to take 1 second?
Yeah, absolutely. And my name is Cody Getz, and I'm the Grants and Communications Coordinator. So I will be helping and assisting you through the application process and kind of guiding you through what submittable looks like.
Great, thanks, Cody. Alrighty, today's agenda is right in front of you. The first 3 items are going to be information that y'all probably mostly know, so we'll go through that a little bit quickly, but we'll stop after eligibility. We'll have some question time, and then we're going to spend some time in the submittable. That's the new platform everyone's very interested in and wants to get to know better. So Cody will spend some time in there, and then we'll go ahead and finish through the agenda and take questions at the end. So that's how questions will work, will be after the first 3, after submittable, and then at the end. But again, please keep chatting with us and we will answer those questions. So we'll talk about our history, the grant process, eligibility, then again submittable, like I said, then the newer information about, we have a checklist this year that we hope will be very helpful for you in our manual. Talk about some of the board's work so you have an idea of what they do over the summer looking at your applications. The review and scoring criteria that we have centered more on policy 1031 and what we're supposed to be doing, kind of our root and our base of the ZAP work. And then contract signing, obligations and payments once you become an awardee. So let's get started. So you can see Cody and I, we just introduced ourselves, but we also have 2 other members of our team. Dustin is here on our call, and he works as a program assistant. Most of his work is in Marcom and social media. If you've seen our social media come alive in the last few months, that is Dustin's hard work, as well as he does a lot of administration for the boards and helps support that. Kelsey, many of you know, is the impact program manager, and that's the program that is capacity building. So the grantees and folks who we have a relationship with in the community, we offer different services to them to help them beyond grant making work, but things like board management and financial understanding, marketing. So great services. Hope you can take advantage of them. So the mission of ZAP is to enhance Salt Lake County resident and visitor experiences through art, cultural, historical, and recreational offerings. We do that in 3 ways. Most of you know that, and I just mentioned that a little bit with our team placement. So grant making is our primary work. We spend most of our time and our efforts as a staff and with our boards on grant making. Promotion is the next piece, is that we need to promote the value of ZAP to the taxpayers, and we do that through promoting the grantees events. You all do so many great things that we just need to keep it going out there, and people will know the value of ZAP. And then capacity building is that impact program I was talking to you about, is support from grants, or excuse me, support from ZAP other than grants. Here's the funding history. This hasn't changed. It doesn't change unless there's some sort of major statutory change, but each year annually we get about 31 million the last few years since COVID, about 31 million. And it gets broken out between the different groups here for you. You can see Tier 1 gets the bulk of the percentage. Oops, did I go back? I apologize. Sorry about that. I am not sharing very well. I will be right back on then. Okay, can you see now? Are you able to see the screen? Am I not sharing?
Not yet.
Oh, goodness. Okay. There we go. Is that better?
Yep, that's better.
Great. Sorry about that, everyone. Alrighty, so you'll see here that the bulk goes to the tier one folks. Those are 22 organizations in tier one and three in the zoological area. Those are pretty exciting. They're usually a statewide reach and have an economic impact. Pretty great. Parks and Recreation does take about 30% of it, or about 10 million a year, and it funds recreation centers, trails, and of course the parks. So we do give that to that division, and they use it for their operations costs annually. Gosh, I keep doing that. I'm so sorry. Um, the zoological folks, those are three folks: that's the aquarium, the aviary, and the zoo. And then the tier two folks get 3.4 million on average a year, or 9%. And it goes to the smaller organizations that are really in the communities and very accessible. So we're excited about tier two folks being local. There we go. Now we got the timing down. This is our grant process. Y'all know this pretty well, most of you, but just so you don't, we're in the eligibility at the top, that blue one that's highlighted. We opened eligibility on March 2nd, and then we opened the application for everyone, excuse me, on April 1st, and that will conclude on May 29th. So gives everybody 60 days in there. Over the summertime, you can see that you will notice the board members will be spending a lot of time reviewing and preparing their funding recommendations for council. So lots of site visits, subcommittee by discipline meetings, lots of deliberations. And then we move on to the fourth part, which is the awards, which is really exciting. We present it to council. Council has always approved it since I've been here. Cross your fingers and knock on some wood. Then we get you to contract signing. So we hope every year to get you all signed up and ready to be paid by Thanksgiving of every year so that you can be ready for your payments in January and beyond the next year. Alrighty, eligibility. Now we're getting into some of the nitty gritty. Oops. I think my finger is trigger happy today. Tier one and zoological. Here's some criteria that help you understand how they're eligible. They have to be a 501c3. Of course, all ZAP grantees need to be. Additionally, the ones in tier one and zoo that qualify, they need to have a 3-year average of qualifying operating expenditures of 390,000. Now that isn't just operating, but qualifying. So we have a worksheet that you put some inputs in and it breaks it down, has some caps on some things. And so the average needs to be of over 3 years of 390 of the qualified expenditures. Of course, arts, botanical, and cultural organization and zoological are the categories that they're in. Must have an office in Salt Lake, or most people say a headquarters or major presence in Salt Lake. 3 years of audited financials, and then they have to have a relationship with ZAP for 2 years. So in tier two for 3 years, excuse me. I didn't mean to say 2 years, 3 years. Alrighty then, tier two, the eligibility is at a level that we hope most or all organizations that are interested may be able to be applicable. So nonprofit status, again, same thing. And then programming, they really need to provide programming for Salt Lake County folks. And so that's really important, is what they provide, what their mission is. And then which discipline they fit into, what category of area are they providing unique services for those who live and visit Salt Lake County. More eligibility, but we're almost ready to wrap it up. We get a lot of questions about expenses, what is eligible and what is not eligible. You can see here, this is a common list of what we can fund. We fund, a lot of operating costs, lighting, technical stuff, supplies, rent, utilities, royalties, those kinds of things we see are very, very common for ZAP. And so if you have a particular question, let us know. We're happy to sit with you and chat through what you're looking to have funded. Another one around expenses or use of funds eligibility. These things we cannot fund, and these aren't things that we can be squishy on. These are things that the council and the state legislators and our leadership are very clear on that we cannot do. So activities outside Salt Lake County, we can't fund those. We can't do things with a little bit of high liability like fireworks or parades, and debt. We don't take any kind of debt or help pay for debt. Scholarships, pass-through money, those are non-negotiables for all the leadership, I would say, or all the things in policy, code, ordinance. So those are not movable on that one. So this is a continuation. This is a longer list. It kind of breaks it down for you. It talks about specific debts or scholarships, endowments, recreationals and social services. So if you want more of a broken down list, it's in the manual, but it's also here. Again, this is activities, and then these are expenses and program agencies that we can't fund. We don't fund other Salt Lake County agencies. That's another example of one that might be interesting. Radio and TV, newspapers, magazines, we don't fund those. So that's it for expenses and eligibility. I know that was really, really fast. And so I was just going to look in the comments and see if anyone's got any questions on that kind of that background and history before we kind of get into submittable. Cody's nodding no. So I am going to pass the baton to him and let him really get
Yeah.
into it with submittable, I guess.
Yeah, and if you want to keep it sharing your screen, Samantha, actually,
Oh, sure.
you
Can
can
do.
manage. Yeah, you can
Yep. Yep.
manage some of the PowerPoint, and then I'll make sure when we get into the meat of it submittable, I'll start sharing my screen. Anyways, if you want to go to the next slide, just to let folks know, this is a new platform that we are using this year. Samantha, if you want to go to the next slide, that would be great. Perfect. Oh, thank you. So all of your forms, whether they be around eligibility, prerequisite, application, or report forms, are completed in Submittable. And I'll show you kind of where they are in Submittable, but there's nothing in Zoom Grants this year. It is all in the new platform. And from our experience and the experience of others, the platform is a lot more user-friendly. And some of you that are here on this call have already been in it, which is great. And so you probably could attest to that. It's pretty easy to kind of navigate around. The submission owners act as the primary contact and submit the application. You can have collaborators to your submissions. They can make edits or draft to the application. And then contract signers. And we'll talk more about that later in this webinar and in the contract webinar, which comes in November. But they're a little bit different this year. We're going to be using DocuSign to help kind of facilitate some of that. So there is a set of submittable help links in the ZAP grant manual in the appendix. And if Samantha, if you want to go to the next slide, kind of show you the things that we will cover today in our tour. So I'm going to show you a little bit about where that portal lives, how to access Submittable, give you an overview of the submissions menu, and some of the tabs that are within that submission. So there's just a couple nuances on how to find things. And I'll show you a couple other links. So Samantha, you can go ahead and stop sharing. And then I will get my screen up. Okay, so I'm going to take you from the very beginning when you come onto the ZAP, saltlakecounty.gov/ZAP page. When you get here, you can navigate in a couple of ways, but I'm going to show you down in our quick links area. Depending on which category you're going to apply for, you'll either apply for Tier 1 and zoological funding or Tier 2 funding. They're going to get you to specific pages within our website that give you some information. So I'm going to go to the Tier 2 funding side, but this is the majority of the information is the same on the Tier 1 and zoological. Okay. It takes you there, and the spot that I want to point out to folks a lot is the resources section of the links of our website. So submittable portal, that's going to take you to the portal where you log in. You can download the ZAP grant manual from this resources tab as a PDF. The recording is also going to be, the link will be here. We'll also send it in email. If you'd like to schedule some one-on-one time with me around some technical assistance, this is where you do it. You'd hit the virtual office hours link. And so again, these majority of these links are the same on the Tier 1 and zoological. So when I go ahead and click this link, what's going to happen is that I'm going to get to the submittable portal for Salt Lake County. And some of you may have already seen this. When you get there, you can scroll down and there's going to be 3 options that are ZAP related that you are going to interact with. If you're tier 1 in zoological, you'll apply here. If you're tier 2, applying for the tier 2 program, you'd apply here. For both programs, there's a requirement for a post-spending report. You will apply here on this main page. It does not live within your profile if you haven't started it yet, okay? So the first time you ever start it, you have to come back to this portal page to apply, okay? You are also welcome to, if you aren't signed into your account, you can sign in up here and it'll help you log in, or if you hit the apply button. You can also go to submittable.com and just hit sign in, and that works as well, okay? So I'm going to show you kind of what it looks like. Oops, actually, I'm going to go over here. So once you've logged in, this is the page that you're going to get. It's my submissions, okay? The submission where you submitted eligibility and prerequisites forms is right here at the top of your submissions. If you're, the filters need to be on, I would not hit, it needs to be active. So it'll show all the active submissions, okay? If you say accepted or declined, we're not at that stage yet, so you won't see that, okay? So when I go into my submission for the particular program, the couple of tabs I want to bring to your attention. The first one is activity. This shows you the whole list of activity that's been in your submittable account, whether you've submitted the form, whether you've sent us a message, whether we've sent you a message. So that gives you an activity log of everything that's happened. In the messages tab, which is important, is it will provide you a summary of all the messages that we have sent to you or you have sent to us. And I would just encourage you to continue using that messaging system as it keeps all of the communications within one system. And that's helpful for you all if you have changes in personnel and you need a log of the messages that have been sent back and forth over an application. Keeping it all in this system will keep it all right there. When we send you a message, it does give a notification to your email. So whatever email you used to sign up your account, a notification will go there. And so I just want to point out that the notification comes from Salt Lake County. And I'm going to show you an example in my inbox of a message I sent myself. It's going to come from Salt Lake County because our submittable platform is for the entire county. It's not just ZAP. But usually the subject line is going to say something related to ZAP. So I just want you to be aware that some folks have said, well, I haven't gotten any messages. And I'm like, well, it's because it's coming from Salt Lake County and not necessarily ZAP. So just an awareness for you there. Okay. The other tab that I want to show you is the Forms tab. So this is where each component of the process, the eligibility form, the prerequisite forms, they're separate forms within Submittable, okay? And they live in this Forms tab. So if you've submitted core eligibility and prerequisite, they are going to live right here, okay? Some of you have already received messages of that you've passed the eligibility check and you're moving on to the full application. That's as an additional form, okay? And that's where this application lives. And so if you click on the tier 2 application, it'll then pull it up to where you can start filling out the information, okay? Let's see here. Any questions so far? Let's see here. I'm just taking a break. So, okay. Not ones that I haven't answered already. So Let's see here. The other thing that I want you to just be aware of, Submittable is a lot more user-friendly platform, and they have actual help articles. And so that's, if there's a technical issue with an account, one of the things that I recommend is you can contact me, but you can also Google it too. So I will point out to the fact that they have a help center for applicants on technical, like how do I see this particular form? How do I change my profile settings? And so I would type in Submittable Help Center for applicants. We also have a link for this in the appendix. And you can go in here and there's an FAQ that Submittable has created on various elements related to their platform. So that is also very useful. Let's see here. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a second, see if there's any additional questions.
We do have one related to
Yeah,
Submittable about
yes.
how do we get a login for Submittable and how can we submit an eligibility form?
Yes. So you can actually start make an account on Submittable. So Submittable isn't just used for the county. It's actually a grant management platform for a lot of different opportunities across the country. So you can actually just make an account. What I would do is I would go to the Submittable portal that I showed you through the county's website. Sign in, create an account, sign in, and then come back to that same page and hit apply. Does that make sense? So anyone that's eligible for this opportunity can make a Submittable account. Okay. Okay.
Dustin answered one about Zoom grants, but I'll just share
Yeah.
it in case you didn't see it. But Zoom grants was our previous platform for about 10 years from 2016 to 2025. We're no longer using that. We stopped using that at the end of January. If you need your old information, you should have access to it. We as ZAP do not, but you can if you want to pull some old data. We've been encouraging folks to pull data if they need some information they have submitted previously since about December. So you should, again, still be able to do that. If you cannot find something or cannot get into Zoom grants, we may have that. We tried to store everything possible and get as much data as we could possibly even think of getting. So if you can't get it from them directly, feel free to ask us and we'll see what we've got and get that to you. All right.
Okay. I think we're ready to move on to the next part of the PowerPoint.
Okay, great. Alrighty, I should be sharing hopefully. Let's see. Okay. So this is a lot of information. So we did create a checklist, a more robust checklist this year. It's in your manual. Again, where Cody went to the page on our website, it does have a place you can click on and see the grant manual. It's pretty robust, but it's easy to find things inside of it if you want to just do a search. So we're going to talk about the application checklist for both Tier 1 and Zoo and Tier 2. So Tier 1 and zoological, of course, you have your narrative questions and your data that you have to put in for your activities and your site visits. Those things are definitely the very first application and site visit part of your steps. Then there's some supplementary documents that are required, of course, which is your organizational chart and board list, your qualifying expenditure worksheet, your 3 years of audited financials, and audit peer review letter. We've had a lot of questions recently. We're trying to be better at ZAP, and we've been emailing you if you've gotten one email from me. When your peer review letter is getting ready to expire or has expired, we're trying to be better about letting you know more in advance because we know those take a long time to get. As long as your letter is valid and not expired by May 29th this year, basically, we're going to count it as valid and not expired because we know some people are having some in the summer and fall come up. If you have any questions about that, let me know. We also strongly encourage in the new platform to put visuals, video. The boards love video. They appreciate it. They think they connect better and understand what the organizations do. Annual report or similar materials, metrics maybe, sharing your programming list for the year. The board, again, loves all of that. The programming partnership list, while it is optional, it is something more the board is interested in to find out what partnerships you have in the community, how you're doing your business, how you're leveraging the dollars, etc. And then the post-spending report, which we will talk about in just a second. Typically in tier one and zoological, we would only ask a couple questions within the application for you to kind of talk about the post spending, like monies that you've already gotten and what you've done with those. We are now breaking it out and have it be similar to tier two, as we're bringing parity to tier one and tier two, is a post spending report. So for the first time this year, we are asking for the tier ones and zoologicals to go ahead and do a post-spending report. That would be for your 2025 time period. They're always 2 years behind or one fiscal year behind, basically. Okay, let's see. Tier two, very similar. Again, you have your narrative responses and your activities data that's in your application, as always. And then it depends on how much money you're asking for in the grant application. But you'll see here that all folks need to have an organizational chart and a board list. But then once you start breaking the different thresholds down, you'll see what certified financial information that you need to provide to our CPA, who will review it. And then the same thing, auditors peer review letter. Again, I tried to notify everyone that we thought was getting ready to expire or had an expired one. And as long as it's good through May 29th of this year, we're going to go ahead and count it. Those take a long time to get in. Again, we strongly encourage anything you can do with visuals. Tier two will have the same post-spending report, but of course it will be in the new system submittable. And then there is a new grant program starting this year only for local arts agencies or cities. That's what local local arts agencies are cities or municipalities. And it's a grant for them. So if you are a local community, please check that out. Cody?
Great, thanks, Samantha. As Samantha mentioned, if you've received funding from us in the past, a post-spending report is required with this year's submission. And what we recommend is that as you're working on both of that, work on the application, also work on the post-spending report. Please note that the period for this reporting is related to the county's application cycle. So for example, the reporting period is for the 2024 Tier 2 program cycle. Now, depending on your organization and when that 12-month reporting period was, maybe that's for activities in the future in 2025, or if that was activities during that fiscal year in 2024, it really kind of it depends, but the report is for the 2024 Tier 2 program cycle. For Tier 1 and zoological program, it is based on activities that you were discussing in the 2025 cycle. So just keep that in mind as you're working on the report. The report is available on the Salt Lake County submittable portal. It's not within one of the forms of the submissions. So you will need to make sure that you go back to that same submittable portal and hit apply the very first time. Of course, once you've started it, it will appear in your profile, but until you start that process, it won't be in your profile. Okay. And the report deadline is also the same as Friday, May 29th, the same time as your application. Okay, Samantha?
Thank you. All righty. We're going to talk a little bit about the advisory board and then some of the review criteria, which will be really helpful because I know some of this information is new. We're trying to be really proactive at ZAP. You'll see us doing a lot of updates, including the manual and the questions and the criteria to be closer to our base. We also had requests from grantees and applicants to understand more about the board review process. Some folks thought it just went dark over the summer and then pow, responses come up. But so we're going to share a little bit, but if it's not enough, let us know. We're happy to share more about their process that they have for the board's review. So the roles and the responsibilities of both boards, both of ZAP's boards, is to review the applications and provide official funding recommendations to Salt Lake County. Those can come with dollar amounts or projected dollar amounts for awards. The membership makeup of the boards is a little bit different. For the Tier 1 board, it is 7 members. Those members not only review applications and have deliberations, but they go on site visits, meaning that they go to each of the 25, usually 25 to 27 applicants, and go visit them, have a tour, go to a board meeting, really check them out thoroughly. The tier 2 has a 13 board member. We have increased this. It's been 11 for a long time, but the competition in tier 2 is quite fierce and moving up to tier 1. And so we've been able to add 2 more board members to go over those reviews and give everybody a quality feedback, as well as a thorough review of funding award recommendations. There is an all-day meeting for each one of these boards. So over the summer, when they have these discipline subcommittee meetings or site visits and deliberations and things, they do that over the summer. And then in August and September, each board gets together to have a full day of deliberations to go over any preliminary decisions, any concerns. And so we're working really hard to kick more of that information out of the all-day meeting to our grantees, and you'll see some of that coming up at the end of this season. So I'm going to go ahead and move on to a little bit more. This is the Tier 1 board from last year, a great group of folks. And we encourage you to have a relationship with them through inviting them to your events. Board members really like coming to events. They feel like they get more information. You can offer 2 tickets per organization, per board member per year. That was a lot of pers, but I'm just saying they can get to at least one of your events that have a cost to them. And then, of course, you can always invite them to the free ones, and they can come. 2 weeks at least notice. If the board members don't get that kind of notice, they can't seem to slip it in their schedules. It's busy life, right? And so we do ask, we love 2 months, but even a month is fine. And then we love to have your social on our collateral. Again, our board members follow us on social. They'll even post some of their own things and share their own things. So anytime you want something on social, let us know and we're happy to share it out. Okay, review and scoring criteria. This is some of the biggest changes this year, but you'll see that it still stays with the core of what ZAP does, and that was our intention. So it's getting ready to get a little serious. Here we go. So we have anchor descriptions to define which of these areas scored really mean. So what does exceptional mean? What does strong mean? Adequate mean? We really have definitions for each one. You're welcome to jump into the manual at your convenience, and that's on page 22 through 25. And the financial health test is a little different, but there is a section on that after it as well. We'll go through that in just a second. But each one of these has an anchor description so that when you get your feedback from the board, you'll understand better what they're saying about your organization, your programming for the community. There are 4 criteria categories. What we did last year is similar to previous years, is artistic, botanical, cultural, or zoological purpose. That was vibrancy. You've heard that before, is artistic vibrancy is what it was called previously. This talks about the primary purpose of the organization. Are they meeting what they say the discipline in which they're in? Organizational stability looks at personnel, programming, partnerships, volunteers, board members, engagement with the community. So those are the first 2 of the 4 criteria. Community engagement and public benefit. Again, these are similar to what we were previously. And financial accountability are the other 2. Evaluating an organization, how they do outreach. I know some folks reach out to certain populations or have a unique demographic that they enjoy providing services to, but we also ask everyone to promote all of your events to all of Salt Lake County to have an opportunity to participate. Financial accountability is a new category. We're happy to chat about this if you'd like to in any kind of detail. We used to just have the financial health test for those who asked for $22,000 or more, or who those were asking for a grant from Tier 1 or zoological. This one now allows the board to look at information, not just our CPA, who provides a report and details and provides feedback on the financial health test. But this allows the board members now to have the opportunity to look at the structure of the organization, your budget, what your ask is, and provide feedback to you on what they think about your organization, your ask. So that's kind of exciting. Some folks have asked for that. They didn't feel like they were getting that feedback from the board, but there just wasn't a category to do that. So we have created that, and thank you for that, the concept of that. This is the financial health test. Again, this is only applied to tier 2s over 22,000 and tier 1s and zoological. So if you're not asking for that much, this doesn't affect you. We have changed the scoring of it a little bit. Hopefully this will give you better concrete answers. It's not always kind of this gray area in the middle, but you're doing really well or you've got some challenges. And so we really do tighten it up, basically. We took it and tightened it up. It still looks at 3 years worth of whether you've passed or failed the financial health test. and then that gives you an automatic score. The scores will be different only on this one, this fifth category that some people will have. It will, and it can go into the negatives. So it can take points away. Something we've not had before. We just had points added or points come down, but depends on how you perform the financial health test. Again, if you have any questions, since this is a little bit different of a breakout than we've had before, please let us know if you have anything that we can help walk you through on. Do we want to stop here for a minute, or do we want to go ahead and wrap up this last part here, Cody? And what are your thoughts?
I think let's wrap this part up.
Okay, great.
We have a couple questions, but we can do that after we wrap this one
Okay,
up.
great.
Great. So to wrap up today, we'll talk a little bit about contract signing. So what's next if you've been funded? The first thing would be to review the contract and all contractual obligations. Step 2 would be to update or register payment works information, and then sign the grant contract with Salt Lake County. Like I said, new for this year, ZAP will be using a DocuSign integration in Submittable for contract signing, and we'll have more details about how that will work in the contract webinar later this year. Okay, Samantha, go ahead. Okay, and like I said, that contract webinar is typically going to come out around late October or early November, and that we typically have about a 2-week period to complete the contract signing, just so that it was very helpful to get all that information in for us, and so that we can use that to process the award and do all the internal processes around that. And so it'll be another similar webinar as to this past year, where it's just that you can view on your own. Yeah, go ahead, Samantha. Go to the next one. And this is just an FYI for you on how grant funding for this upcoming cycle will be distributed. Payments for the Tier 1 and zoological program will begin in June of 2027 and go through May of 2028. For the Tier 2 program, those grant awards will be paid using tax revenue received in 2026, but they will be paid out in January and April of 2027, respectively. Okay, so at this point, we're going to open it up to questions. A couple of questions in the chat, and as I go through some of this, if you can keep putting them in the chat, that's super helpful, as we are working to create an FAQ based on your questions. And so I know there's a question from Donna about where to see the post-spending report, and I'm more than happy to share with you on where that looks like. So let me just get it back to okay, I'm going to start from the county's website itself so you can see where that looks like. Oops, hold on, I gotta start sharing. Okay, if I'm applying for Tier 1 and zoological funding, the submittable portal is right underneath the resources section. It takes me to the main submittable, Salt Lake County submittable portal. And the one that you want to be clicking on is the ZAP post-spending report. It is for the same for Tier 1 and zoological and Tier 2. It's the exact same form. So go ahead and you can hit apply. I will say, if you started working on any of these, they will appear in your submissions tab. So they'll start to appear here, but until you've hit that apply button, they are not going to appear here. So that you have to make sure you apply here. So
now these people, there I am, unverified.
Hey,
They're talking.
Cody,
Well,
real quick, with the post-spending report, can you show how to add collaborators? We had a question in the chat about adding collaborators to the post-spending.
Yep. Okay, and let me go ahead. And this would be the same thing for adding a collaborator.
While you're pulling up that, Cody, I'm going to make a comment about that because I think that's a really good question. Thank you for bringing that up, Dustin. And whoever asked that, I didn't see.
I did over and over again.
Okay.
I can't hear anything.
what I was going to say is it is not as complicated as before. That's why you're asking that question, because your pain and misery from previously is stuck with you in a trauma situation. So we love that the new system doesn't have so many hoops to jump through to log in, to add collaborators, to add a signer, to fix your profile. All those things that were more arduous, if you will, difficult to do, are quite simple. So great question to ask, because I know previously it was really, really a struggle.
Yeah. So this is how to add a collaborator, and this will be the same thing in any of the forms. So at the very top of it, there's going to be a button that says Manage Collaborators. And so when I go ahead and click that, all I'm going to do is type in their email to the person that I want to add to the form, and they will get an invitation to start working on the form. If they already have a submittable account, that submission will appear in their profile. If they do not, they're going to have to go ahead and create a submittable account, and then it should start in there. It should be viewable in their profile. And again, if you're like, how do I do this? And it's a technical thing. How do I add a collaborator? How do I transfer ownership of the application? The wonderful thing is you can ask that question in Google and tag submittable in it, and I guarantee you 95% out of 100 times a help article will pop up. And a lot of times they have videos to show you how to do it. So again, the help centers are far more robust than the previous system, and so there's a lot of ways. So again, I recommend just asking the question to Google and seeing if a help article does pop up for that. So okay.
Looks like we've got a little bit of a tier. It says Alex Sanders asking for tier 2 in the report to include being for 2024. Does that mean FY 24 to 25? You want to take that 12-month
Sure.
period question again? Because that is challenging one, I have to say.
Yeah, absolutely. So it depends. Unfortunately, it's the basic of the answer. So you'd have to go back to your application that you submitted in 2024, and the question that you want to, there's a question in that application. It's typically question number 6 that asks, when are you planning to use the funds? When are you planning to do these activities that you're outlining in the application? And that may be for you fiscal year 2024 through 25. So it really depends on the organization.
Your 12-month period is really important. Some people ask for future funds. Some people want to pay for the past. And so it's up to you. We've left that flexibility. That's not something we're planning to change. It's about the way it depends on how you look at it. It's an 18-month, 2-year time frame sort of that you can select when you need those funds. And then you just would keep going off of that. So your post-spending report is personal or customized to when your 12-month period is for you to report on them. And it looks like we got a question from Maria. I'm not sure if she's asking for tier 1 or tier 2. If awarded, are funds supposed to be used at the end of by the end of 27 or end of 27, 28? It depends on when your fiscal year is, and it depends if you're going backwards or forwards. Again, we allow that flexibility for you to make that determination, but you do need to have it spent. If for some reason, again, things happen all the time. Sometimes people don't get the full award they asked for. Something changed at the organization. Something changed with the program. You can contact us. ZAP tries to be as flexible as possible. If you need a little extra time to spend that money, or you want to shift it from paying for this program maybe doesn't exist anymore, now you want to pay for a different program or a person, you can do that as well. So. Any other questions? I would say anybody that's a ZAP board member that's come onto this call for learning opportunities, we're going to have separate training too that we'll get into submittable because y'all have the review part of the submittable versus the applicant side. So I just wanted to reassure you we'll be having that. Oh, someone has a cat, an extra person. Can we count that person in our numbers? From Derek, his buddy that's there. We're happy to stay on the call. If anybody has questions, you can just ask them, or maybe if some folks need to go on with their day, they can. We're here for you. Thanks for coming. We're excited to see your applications. We hope you really like the change. Oh, looks like we've got
I've seen a couple. Feel free to come off mute if you have
come off
your hands up either.
So
I
just have
go ahead.
a real quick question. So I work with a group where we have our organization and then we have an event that's like an organization within itself. So like if my organization, Beloved Community, and then we do the Salt Lake Juneteenth event, but that's registered as its own like 501c nonprofit. Could both of those apply for the grant?
So you gave us a wonderful question that I would love to, like, if we could just do a one-on-one with that and like explore like your options. I think that'll be the easiest. I'm sorry I can't give you maybe a direct answer, but definitely I'd recommend scheduling a one-on-one so we can chat more specifically about that. Does that sound okay?
Yeah, and
Um,
how would I schedule a one-on-one?
yeah, for sure. So anyone, again, on the Salt Lake County website, I'll show that one more time. Because this I want to see virtual appointments come through. My calendar's empty, people, for reports, which maybe is a good thing. Maybe you've figured it out, but if you haven't, I definitely would love to chat more with you. So, okay, hold on. Let me get
While
to.
you're pulling that up, Cody, I was just going to say I could answer that question partially without knowing the specifics. Again, Cody would need to know the specifics, but
Mhm.
there are times that folks don't do a lot of artwork. Whatever they do isn't focused on arts or botanicals or historical or zoological, but they have a festival or a program or a project that they do funding with us through. It's called an administrative unit. We do those. There's not a lot of them. It's a smaller percentage, but we do allow folks who do something else as their main priority, but they have an
Mhm.
arts or botanical piece to it that's robust and has its own financials, its own mission, its own board. Those things we do fund. But again, those are ones we want to ask specific questions to because there's some nuances to it
Yeah,
when you get a chance.
Oh,
Cody's going to show you
great.
how to book an appointment.
So, in order to book an appointment from the Salt Lake County website, you'll go down depending on the tier that you're applying for. Let's go to tier 2, and in the resources section of the tier 2 page, there's virtual office hours, and you go ahead and click that. That's going to pull up a Calendly a scheduling assistant, which then you'll be able to book a 30-minute one-on-one technical assistance meeting. Typically, those are held Wednesday afternoon as well as Friday morning. Okay. I think Josna had a question.
Yeah, hi. So I wrote to Samantha because for some reason I wasn't able to get into the chat with everybody. But my question is, historically we've been applying for a grant cycle year going from September to August. Since this year things are a little bit later, are we still able to ask for funding for events that happen in September?
Can I ask a quick question? When you mean things are happening later, can you help me understand that? Just your cycle's
Mhm.
different or your activities are at a different time of year now?
No, just is the date when the ZAP application is submitted is about a month later
Yes.
from last year, and
Yep.
also the
Mhm.
the funding announcements are a little bit later than before. So that's what I
Oh,
meant.
sorry. That's a great question. No, we're bringing parity. We're having the tier 1s and tier 2s eligibility open up that month of March, and then they both stay open April and May for the application. But it doesn't change. We should stay on the same cycle. We should be able to announce to you in October. Hopefully, we get it to council for them to approve it in October again and get you your award letter and your contract by November. So you should be able to do the same things you've done in the past, whether you do past funding or future funding. It's just be on the same cycle for this year.
Thank you.
Yeah, great question. Anyone else want to ask a question? Okay.
Real quick,
Again,
actually, Samantha,
oh,
can I do a
sure. Yeah.
shameless plug? All y'all on this call, I would also recommend make sure you're on our newsletters that are going out every month. A lot of the links and stuff that Cody has shared with you all today are in all of those newsletters. If you aren't getting them, head to our website on the resources tab. They're all there chronologically. And I would just really recommend checking out those out because they have all the links you're going to need.
Thanks for that reminder, Dustin. We should have said that. So thank you for bringing that up. Yeah. Okay, well, I think we'll just go ahead and end the call. Again, we'll get this posted. We'll send you an email of it and post a PowerPoint of it as well. So thank you so much. Oh, Maria asked the newsletter link. That is just on the resources page.
Yep, just on the resources page. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Take care.